Welcome back to the show, everyone. Craig and Jonah here. We wanted to play a little clip from you from a YouTube video that Jonah found. I don't know where you find this stuff.
It's in my feed. Anything about owning or masturbation gets put automatically right in my YouTube feed. So this is more of a men's health video, but somehow that found its way in there.
Yeah. So the Google algorithm is
spot on, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I get some of the strangest Odin videos of some characters talking about Odin. And if you have talked about Odin on YouTube, I have seen your video.
Yeah, that's right. And probably vice versa. My wife, speaking of which, my wife the other day, she was on Facebook and she pulls out her phone and shows it to me, and our podcast was showing up in her suggested feed as a local business.
Oh,
which
how do they know?
I'm assuming they know where the audio is being done at.
No kidding.
So I'm a little
that's really funny.
Yeah, I don't put location information or anything on the podcast, and I think I've kind of scrubbed our personal identities. But I'm guessing it knows where we're at and where it's. So I'm just
that's really funny.
I'm just imagining people in our community. I don't advertise this show to people I know. But she kind of, I like, well, you're gonna click
my mom would listen.
She's like, I like, well, you're gonna subscribe. She's like, hell no. Don't anybody see that? So, we like the berries of the world that are safely in South Africa.
Yeah, Barry, tell all your friends.
Right. You can spread it all across any other continent. Just keep it out of our county. Anyway, so Jonah had this. So
these videos don't show up in your feed. You must watch a lot of YouTube though.
I honestly don't spend as much time on YouTube now, other than just putting up our own content and editing and stuff. So
no, the three things that are in my YouTube feed are fishing videos, pro wrestling videos, and then owning videos and sex/masturbation topics.
Well, thank you, Google, for helping us supplied with new content here.
Yeah, I've been growing up, since I was like 14. The videos are the same. Like, there's YouTube back then would have been about the same too, probably.
Yeah, I have a couple farming channels that I follow, though I've kind of phased those out, like the Millennial Farmer and all those guys.
Those are funny, huh?
So I get a lot of those things in my feed. Although if you ever let your kids use your YouTube for a little bit,
I don't.
For the reasons probably, but sometimes my kids will have to look something up on YouTube, and then for the next 2 weeks, I'm getting suggestions for Minecraft and these awful YouTubes of really high-pitched teenage guys yelling about their video games and stuff like that. So
that's funny.
Anyway, so Jonah stumbled upon, and she's got 510 subscribers. Maybe I'll have to subscribe to her. I don't know if she's still out there.
She has great videos. I watched some other ones too.
Okay. So this is a video 3 years ago, and the title is Men Need Sex, a Physiological, Biological Need. I'm like, I can relate to that title. That seems legit already.
Her name is Ruth Clarence.
Yeah, I'll link to it.
And I don't know her background or anything.
I don't either. It seems like there's a religious...
Yeah, she's a hot and holy lady. So
yeah,
she's got a sense of humor.
Yeah, I love this lady. So I watched the video, and then I sent it to my wife, and
I sent it to mine as well.
Yeah,
she didn't get to watch it yet, but
my wife didn't disagree with anything, or wasn't like, okay, guys, which
with the eye roll, that's funny.
Yeah, maybe that's all post Solo Saga. I don't know that she would have the same reaction.
It took, well, that's true. That one event changed the trajectory of your whole life.
Yeah, maybe this can be your stepping stone. You can avoid.
That's true. You could just share this video.
Yeah, share this video. It gets really, really good. It's only the whole thing is just under 5 minutes. We're not going to play that, but just go ahead and listen to a little bit of this.
I'd like to read a passage. It's from Linda Dillow's book, and she states, hormone levels greatly influence sexual desire. A man is like a river. His testosterone levels flow constant and steady. A man has 17 sexual glands. Like Energizer bunnies, these glands work day and night, producing semen, which is stored in the inner sac of the testes. When the sac fills up, his testes tells his brain, do something quick before I explode. You see, a man's need for sex is not always mine. His sexual command center demands release from the accumulated buildup. In Dr. Dobson's book, What Wives Wish Their Husband Knew About Women.
Is that Dr. Dobson, the James Dobson? Maybe it's on the next slide. The people that are listening to this can't see the slides. It is. So that's interesting. So this is Dr. James Dobson, who he's the guy that if you go way back to the missionary to the masturbators episode, that was the guy that was talking about this lady that wrote to him that was just in utter anguish, and he basically said, don't worry about it.
What was she in anguish about?
Masturbating. She was struggling with masturbation.
Blocked. Males experience accumulating physiological pressure, which demands release. Two seminal vessels gradually fill to capacity, and when maximum levels is reached, hormonal influences sensitize the man to all sexual stimuli. Now, for me, that was actually new information. Steve Arterburn.
For all ladies, I think.
Yeah, it's just a different experience. And so we should listen to a little more, I think, where she talks about where sex ranks.
Yep.
In his book with Fred Stoker, Every Man's Battle, he says that approximately every 72 hours, this accumulated semen is demanding release.
And that makes sense.
And when I began to think about Simon, I thought, that's just about
that feels exactly how my experience is. It's like 3 days. And
every 3 days. And if you go beyond that, it's fine for a couple of days, but then it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's just when I saw that video when she got to that part, I'm like, holy crap, it's the same thing we talk about.
Yeah.
Right. About every 72 hours or so, he has the urge to merge. And I have to recognize that is a physiological, biological need. Now, some gals.
This is something that, and maybe we need to do a follow up to Love and Responsibility. But Carol Wojtyla, when he was writing that, he was really pulling in from a lot of sources. The epistemologists and existentialists, and even sexologist in his last chapter, which I think is actually the best chapter in the book. Wish he would have tapped into some of these people, because it just doesn't seem like it's on their radar at all.
It's true. Like, just think if he had, that would have changed Catholic teaching.
Yeah,
to a certain degree.
It
could, because it would have been written about, and so that bears some weight for the people that care.
Yeah, because I think it seems like this too much of our approach to the sexual urge, especially for men, is just kind of written off as concupiscence.
Well, that's what he says too, that it's a constant sex drive for men, but that just isn't true. So this is like our Back to the Future 2 moment, where if we had a DeLorean first, we go to own it. Second, we would take this video to John Paul II in like 1970. It'd be like when Biff took the sports almanac back to an earlier version of himself.
I think we go snatch Carol Wojtyla, we take him back so we have a witness to whatever.
We bring him back.
We bring him back. No one's gonna believe us, but they'll believe Carol Wojtyla.
That's true. So now we have two main things that we do with a tricked out DeLorean.
All right. Like the Pope Mobile, but it's got a time machine built into it. Okay.
Say to me, Ruth, this isn't a need like you need air to breathe, you need water to live. You're right. It is not, the word need isn't in that context. However, I would say that yes, you won't die because of lack of sex, but some marriages have died because of lack of sex. So in that context,
I totally agree with that. But I would also say that some guys have died from it. I bet you there's guys that have committed suicide from lack of intimacy in their marriage, and they just see no hope. Like, I am certain of that. And as sad as that is, that's the reality. It's It very much is on that level. Like, I think that if you're in a marriage that doesn't have intimacy, you just feel like you're trapped in something that you are not supposed to be in. Like, it's not supposed to be like this. And how do I get out of here? Like, it isn't, like she said, it's not as necessary as water or food, but in some ways it's easier to give up food than it is intimacy with your wife.
Well, speaking of time machines, you've heard the story about people go back in time and they step on a butterfly as they're getting back into the time machine, and it completely distorts history.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like that. Like it like the day-to-day grind of being by being burdened by this is so great, whether it's, you know, you're just not as good at your job, so maybe you don't get a promotion, or you're
it is the butterfly effect.
Yeah,
the butterfly effect.
Yeah, like your relationship with your children isn't as good, and maybe they're deprived of some key moments in your relationship that changes how they turn out. Like,
boy, that is true. If you did have constant irregular intimacy, or like that changes your whole life. It does change your whole life.
Yeah, I feel like a fully functioning, like I'm operating at peak capacity in that 3-day window afterwards.
And then if it keeps happening, like you're constantly functioning at peak performance.
Yeah, like it's when I'm not in that, it's just you're operating at a deficit. You're operating with, you know, baggage on you or weight on you, or you're sleep deprived, whatever analogy you want to make.
It affects everything. It affects sleep. It affects everything. It's like having a bad spark plug in an engine.
Yes.
You know, it's just sputtering.
Yes. Yeah. It maybe the car isn't going to die, but it's just
it'll still get there, but it won't be going at a good pace.
Yeah. No, I think this is so critical, what she's saying here, because it's so true.
That word need is very appropriate. And you know, when I first got married and someone told me that sex was a need for a man, I said, and I need a trip to Hawaii.
That is funny.
I really realized the correlation, and that it was a physiological, biological need of a man. It wasn't an option. It was something that his body was demanding. I like what Willard Harley says in his book: the first thing men cannot do without is sexual fulfillment. Do you know?
Yeah. I mean, and she kind of gets to this too about clean house, but like literally, I could do with just about any other struggle in the world, you know, top job I don't like, car that I don't like to drive. Like, if
it's true,
if this part of your life is working well, it just makes all the other stuff bearable and really not that important.
Yeah.
And if this is on the other hand,
it doesn't matter what you have.
You could be the richest man in the world. If you're frustrated, intimacy, it just counteracts all that.
Yep. All the other stuff is irrelevant. Yep. It's true. That is true.
They show that men think about sex as many as 20 times a day. 67% of women, we only think of it a few times a week or even a month.
That actually was depressing to me.
So Harvey said it was the first thing man cannot do without. And that was...
I do wonder, though, for us that are, you know, using NFP and the woman is not, you know, let's say on hormonal birth controls, which I think is pretty common in the non-Catholic population, how much that impacts it. At least there's a window every month for Catholic women that maybe they're experiencing that desire, and even just naturally, it's just not something that's on their mind a lot. Certainly not to the level it is for men.
On most men's priority list. They asked ladies to share where sex was on their priority list, and do you know where we put it? 14th. After gardening. And one lady in one of my seminars yelled out, "Yes, and gardening is only seasonal." But do you see, God made us very different in most cases. That doesn't mean that in some cases women do have a greater sex life. And if that's the way God made you, right on. The information that I'm sharing will obviously have to be applied in a different context. But what I'm saying is we need to recognize that sex is a need for a man. If you would have asked me what Simon's number one want was, I would have said sex. If you would have asked me what his number one need was, I may not have thought of it in that context. I remember one lady who spoke to me after a seminar, and she said, Ruth, I have tried to be the best wife possible. I have 3 nourishing, well-cooked meals on the table every day for my husband. His shirts are ironed. My house is spotlessly clean. And my husband has the nerve to say to me, but you don't love me. She said, what do you mean I don't love you? I couldn't be a better wife. But what I was ignoring was his need for sex. I thought that was kind of a, after we had babies, like, what's the point?
Oh, gosh.
I was realizing that, yeah, he was feeling unloved. While he appreciated a clean house and he appreciated the meals I was giving him, I was not addressing a physiological, biological need that he had.
That's all true. I think, that guy would have given up the clean, and not that he doesn't appreciate it, but the clean house, the meals, all that, he would trade it all in. I can speak for him. I know his feelings. That I can just see that that's how you would feel. Like you would want to give up all that just for frequent or regular intimacy. Not even frequent, just regular,
Yeah,
it is the thing that makes or breaks your entire life.
Yeah, like we said, it's not, it's like this strange tipping point. Like it's amazing when it's there, and then it goes from amazing to really, really difficult very quickly. Maybe there's this short transition day or so where it's kind of a, for me, I guess day 4 or 5 is kind of like it's an annoyance, but it's manageable.
Mm-hmm.
But you get past that, and it's just a total transformation in a negative way. Just almost everything about your life.
Yeah, everything is just much more difficult, and it's a grind. It's just a grind.
Yeah. And the best you can hope to do is just to get through it and maybe distract yourself at the gym, which just makes it worse, because then you're becoming healthier and stronger.
More virile, more testosterone filled. Well, that's true. And I think that's how priests are supposed to live. Like for us married men, it's not like I can just go do whatever I want tonight. But the only way to get away from these feelings is to just keep working and working and working. And you can do that. I think that you could avoid that. Like if I was single and I wasn't, going to do anything, I would keep myself so busy that I just fell asleep at night. And I think you could overcome it that way. But as a married man, it's not like I can just go out and chop wood at 9 o'clock at night when my wife wants me to watch Netflix or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if I sat down and I just binged on like watching baseball or football or that kind of takes your mind away a little bit. But you can't do that, like you said. That's the thing. So unlike priests and celibates, like we can't just go occupy ourselves on other things. Like we are going to continue living with our wives. We're gonna, for most of us, going to continue to sleep in the same bed,
which is brutal then if you can't, like that is a rough feeling. Or just seeing your wife get out of the shower or whatever. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities there that just become tremendous burdens if you're not in an intimate relationship.
Yep. Yeah, because it is a need, and she's like right there. Like you're just and you realize, because I think that's part of the pain of it is it's really difficult, and you're very much aware of how wonderful it is. So like you're under the burden of it, but you're also it's made worse by the fact that you also know how wonderful it is when you're on the other side of that,
and you just desperately seek that connection.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I thought that was a great video.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'll have to see if she's does any interviews and stuff like that, or maybe we'll check out some of her other videos, but I'll link to that below. I don't like to use people's full videos, like I'm just sensitive to their content. We'll link to it, but that is too good not to share that.
It was amazing.
That's a really good video, so hope you guys,
it should get 1 trillion views.
Yeah, I guess that's what I would say is, if you see that, go over and maybe subscribe and like that video and leave a comment, let her know that we really appreciated that. I mean, I think she'll probably like that as well. Yeah. So, all right. Anything else?
Or if you disagree with her, we want to talk to you. I don't know. That sums up my experience, I guess.
If you're a man and you disagree with that, I want to hear from you.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jonah.
You bet.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.